She mistook a CEO for the bellboy who held the door, but that mistake changed everything. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. The evening lights of the Royal Meridian Hotel glow like warm honey against the glass, soft and inviting, a stark contrast to the winter air outside. The lobby hums with the quiet elegance of wealth, every detail polished, every sound softened. And yet, the young woman stepping through the revolving doors does not feel like she belongs to this world. Her name is Clara Hayes, and as she crosses the threshold, she clutches the strap of her worn canvas bag, as if it could anchor her in a place far grander than anything she has ever known. Her breath catches when she sees the chandelier above her, sparkling like a frozen waterfall. She pauses for a heartbeat, then reminds herself why she is here. She is delivering handmade design mock-ups for a client who promised to meet her in the lobby. Clara cannot afford to lose this job. She cannot afford to miss this chance. Her shoes are old, the rubber on the soles thinning after years of walking across the city. Her coat, a thrift store find whose stitching she mended by hand, does little against the cold. But her eyes hold determination. She steps forward, and that is when she sees him. A tall man stands by the door she just entered, one hand still resting on the handle, as if he is making sure it closes gently behind her. He wears a dark coat that fits him perfectly, his posture relaxed but confident. She catches his eye and mistakes his quiet presence for the calm professionalism of a bellboy. She offers him a small, grateful smile. Thank you for holding the door. He opens his mouth slightly, as if about to respond, but she continues before he can correct her. Sorry, I know it is your job, but it was really cold out there. I appreciate it. She gives a quick nod and moves past him, heading toward the center of the lobby. She does not see the flicker of surprise that crosses his face. She does not notice the small, amused breath he lets out as he watches her walk away. And she certainly does not know that the man she just thanked is not a bellboy at all. He is Adrian Cole, the chief executive officer who owns the entire hotel group. But for the first time in a long time, someone has looked at him without recognizing him, without calculating anything, without expecting anything. Only genuine gratitude. He finds himself intrigued. Clara glances around the vast lobby, suddenly overwhelmed. Her fingers tighten around her bag. She checks her phone, reading the message from her client again. Lobby, Royal Meridian Hotel. 7 o'clock. She whispers the words under her breath like a reminder, though her heart thumps anxiously. She tries to steady her breathing. She has worked multiple part-time jobs just to stay afloat. She dreams of being a real interior designer, not just someone people hire for small projects and then forget. Tonight could be the beginning of something real. She sets her bag down and kneels to pull out her portfolio, her hands trembling slightly. But before she can open it, a shadow falls over her. She looks up. It is him, the man she thought was a bellboy. He stands a few steps away, watching her with a calm expression she cannot read. For a moment, neither of them moves. Clara swallows, unsure why he is approaching. She assumes he is here to ask if she needs help with her bags or something simple like that. But his voice, when he speaks, is soft and unexpectedly warm. Are you waiting for someone? She nods, offering a polite smile, unaware that this simple misunderstanding is the spark that will change both of their lives. And as the lights of the lobby shimmer around them, the air thickens with the sense that fate has just nudged them into the first chapter of a story neither of them sees coming. Clara feels her heartbeat flutter as she sits on the velvet bench in the center of the grand hotel lobby, her worn canvas bag resting beside her. For a moment, she tells herself the stranger is simply checking in on a guest, nothing more. But when she lifts her gaze, he is still there, hands in his coat pockets, studying her with an expression that is not intrusive, only quietly attentive. The weight of the day begins pressing down on her all over again. She pulls her shoulders back and nods politely. Yes, I am waiting for someone, she says. A client. Someone who asked to meet here. She tries to sound confident, but her voice trembles just enough for him to notice. He lowers his head slightly, as if acknowledging her effort to stay composed. This hotel can be overwhelming, he says gently. People get lost in here more often than you would think. She lets out a small breath, almost a laugh. I believe that, she replies. I have never been in a place like this. It feels like every corner is polished enough to see your reflection. She regrets the comment immediately, worried it sounds foolish. But he smiles, a soft curve of understanding. It is meant to feel impressive, he says. Some people like that. Clara hesitates, unsure why he is lingering. He is dressed far too well for a bellboy, but she does not allow her mind to go further. She lowers her eyes to her portfolio, her fingers brushing the edges of her design sketches. When she finally speaks, her words are quieter. I really need this meeting to go well. I have been trying to get steady work for months. It has been difficult. She does not know why she says that to a stranger. Maybe it is the exhaustion. Maybe it is the relief of finally saying the truth out loud. Or maybe, she thinks, it is because he does not look at her like she is invisible. His voice softens. Are you a designer? Clara nods, swallowing. We're trying to be one, she murmurs. I do small projects. Simple remodeling. Furniture plans. A few digital renderings. Nothing big. She lifts her portfolio slightly. These are some concepts I worked on for the client I am meeting. I hope they help me get more stable work. Life has been expensive and unpredictable, and she pauses, letting the rest of her fears settle inside her chest. She does not mention the months of juggling part-time jobs, the nights she could barely afford dinner, or the long hours she spent sketching under the dim lamp in her apartment. She does not mention how many times she nearly gave up. He watches her carefully and says, "You seem dedicated. That matters more than you think." Before she can respond, her phone lights up. She reaches for it quickly, only to freeze when she reads the message. Meeting canceled. Sorry for the inconvenience. Her stomach drops. The words feel like a punch, forcing all the air from her lungs. Her vision blurs slightly as she reads the message again and again. She whispers under her breath, "No, not today. Please not today." Her hand tightens around her phone until her knuckles pale. She had spent the last of her money on bus fare. She had stayed up for 2 nights finishing her designs. She had walked into this hotel with a dream so fragile it could break from a single rough breath. Now it is crumbling. She tries to blink back the sting in her eyes. She does not want to cry here. Not in this beautiful lobby where she already feels so out of place. She presses her lips together, but the tremor reaches her voice. I guess the meeting is off." He hears the tremble immediately, and something in his expression shifts. Clara tries to stand, to collect her things before embarrassment overtakes her, but her hand slips on her portfolio, and several pages slide onto the marble floor. She crouches quickly, gathering them with shaking fingers. Her delicate sketches, her careful shading, her dreams spread out across the polished tiles like fallen feathers. She whispers, "Please do not get wrinkled. Please." He kneels beside her without hesitation. His movements are unhurried, respectful, almost gentle as he helps gather the sheets. She looks up briefly, surprised by the calm patience in his face. No judgment, no pity, just presence. When he hands her the last page, he speaks in a quiet voice that carries steady reassurance. It is only a canceled meeting, not the end of your talent. She bites her lip to keep it from trembling again. Sometimes it feels like life keeps telling me to stop trying, she admits. He shakes his head, resolute. Then life is wrong. She blinks, absorbing the certainty in his voice. It is a strange feeling, having someone believe in her so quickly. Someone she thinks is a hotel bellboy. Someone who does not owe her anything. She gathers herself and whispers, "Thank you. I am sorry. I did not mean to take up your time." He stands with her, hands still tucked in his coat pockets. "You are not taking up anything. You look like someone who just needed a moment." As his words settle, Clara realizes something important. This man is the first person in a very long time who has spoken to her without hurrying her, judging her, or dismissing her. And she has no idea that the moment she mistook him for a bellboy has already set her life on a path she never could have predicted. The lobby doors open behind them as a cold breeze sweeps through, but when Clara looks up, she feels something unfamiliar for the first time in months. Hope. Clara stands in the center of the grand lobby, still clutching the edges of her portfolio as if it might keep her steady. The sting of the canceled meeting has not faded, but the presence of the man beside her makes the moment feel less like a collapse and more like a pause. Adrian watches her quietly, noticing the way her fingers tremble when she tucks her sketches back into the folder. He does not reach for her or crowd her space. Instead, he speaks with a gentle steadiness that seems to wrap around her like a warm blanket. You put a lot of work into those designs. I can see that. She lets out a small, shaky breath. Months of work, she whispers. Long nights. Cheap instant noodles. Broken pencils. He smiles faintly at the last part, not mocking but recognizing the truth behind it. You care deeply about what you do, he says. People can feel that in your work. She lifts her eyes, surprised by how perceptive he is. I try, she says softly. I really do. But sometimes life feels like it keeps pushing me backward no matter how hard I run. He nods slowly, as if he knows exactly what she means. People think success is a straight line, he says. But most of the time it is holding on by your fingertips until the storm passes. Her breath catches for a moment. He speaks with such grounded certainty that she wonders what storms he has lived through. He seems so calm and put together, but calm people, she thinks, are often forged in difficult places. She adjusts her bag and takes a slow breath. I did not grow up with much, she admits. I learned how to work, how to push through. But dreaming costs money, and time, and energy, and sometimes I feel like I am running out of all three. He listens without interrupting. He does not rush her. He does not offer quick, empty answers. He simply lets her speak, and the permission to exist in her truth feels like its own kind of relief. I work part-time at a small hardware store in the afternoons, she continues quietly. In the mornings I take whatever design gigs I can find. Minor renovations, digital layouts, cheap staging jobs. Nothing long-term. Nothing stable. She runs her thumb over the corner of her portfolio. I live in a tiny apartment where the heater works half the time. I keep blankets in every room, even the kitchen. She gives a timid laugh, though it carries exhaustion more than humor. My landlord says the building is old, and I should be grateful the water runs at all. Adrian absorbs every detail with patient respect. He can tell she is embarrassed to say these things, but she says them anyway because somewhere inside she knows he is listening without judgment. I'm just trying to keep my head above water, she finishes. That is all. He lets her words settle in the air for a moment before saying, that is more than most people admit, and more than most people can manage. She lowers her gaze, heat gathering in her cheeks. Thank you, she murmurs, for listening. Most people do not. He tilts his head slightly, his voice softer. Maybe they should. She lets out a long, slow breath. The tension in her shoulders finally starts to release, bit by bit. For a moment, the lobby does not feel so intimidating. The world does not feel so heavy. She reaches into her bag and pulls out the object she always carries, the one thing she refuses to leave behind. It is a small spiral sketchbook with worn edges and a faded floral cover. The pages inside are filled with floor plans, color palettes, furniture arrangements, and glimpses of spaces she dreams of designing one day. She cradles it in her hands like something precious. I bring this everywhere, she says, offering a small smile. It reminds me why I am still fighting. He looks at the sketchbook with genuine interest. May I see? She hesitates before nodding, placing the sketchbook gently into his hands. He opens it with care, turning each page slowly as if the drawings are fragile. Clara watches his face, searching for signs of politeness or pity or dismissal. But there is none. Instead, his brows lift with genuine admiration. These are remarkable, he says. Clean lines, warm composition, strong sense of space. You think like someone who sees the story of a room, not just the walls. Her breath catches. No one has ever said something like that to her. Not even her previous clients. Do you really think so? I know so, he replies. And for the first time, she hears conviction that sounds like truth, not flattery. She smiles, a soft, hesitant expression she has not worn in a long time. Before she can form her next words, a voice suddenly echoes across the lobby. Clara, over here. She turns toward the sound, surprised to see a familiar face waving from across the room. It is her friend Danielle, a waitress at the hotel cafe. Clara did not know she worked tonight. Danielle jogs over, cheeks flushed from the cold she just rushed in from. I saw you come in earlier, but I could not leave my station, Danielle says breathlessly. What happened? I thought you had a meeting. Clara lowers her eyes, embarrassed. It was canceled at the last minute. Danielle frowns, her expression softening. I am really sorry. The two women share a brief hug. Adrian steps back respectfully, giving them space. When Danielle leaves to return to her shift, Clara turns toward him again. Her cheeks flush, and she pulls her coat tighter. I should probably head home soon, she says quietly. The buses do not run as often after 8. He nods, though a flicker of concern passes through his eyes. Do you have a long trip? About 40 minutes, she answers. 2 transfers. He listens quietly, a thoughtful pause stretching between them. And then, with a voice calm and sure, he asks, would you like me to walk you to the bus stop? She stiffens for a moment, surprised by the offer. But something in his tone tells her it is not pity. It is respect. It is human. And it is real. She nods. Slowly. Yes, I would like that. And as they walk toward the shining glass doors of the hotel, her small sketchbook tucked safely in her bag, neither of them realizes that the simple act of sharing her truth has planted the seed of something that will change everything. As Clara and Adrian step out of the hotel, the cold air hits them like a rush of reality. But for the first time in a long while, Clara feels grounded. The weight of the day, the canceled meeting, and the frustration of her uncertain future seem to lessen as they walk side by side. The streetlights flicker against the darkness, casting long shadows on the sidewalk, but there is a warmth between them that feels like a quiet promise. Adrian walks with a steady pace, his hand resting casually in his coat pocket, and Clara finds herself walking a little taller, her steps less hurried. She feels something stirring inside her, something she has not allowed herself to feel in a while. Hope. It is a strange and unfamiliar feeling, but she welcomes it. They walk in silence for a moment, the sound of their footsteps mingling with the distant hum of traffic. Adrian glances at her out of the corner of his eye, his voice cutting through the stillness. You know, you do not have to walk home alone, he says, his tone casual but sincere. Clara looks up at him, her eyebrows furrowing slightly. What do you mean? She is surprised by the offer, her instincts telling her to politely decline. But there is something in his voice that makes her hesitate. You said it was a long trip, and it is getting late. I could drive you home if you like, he suggests. She blinks, her mind racing. She is not used to this kind of kindness. People like Adrian, people with his wealth and status, do not offer rides to people like her. She is a struggling artist, a waitress at a local cafe, someone just trying to make ends meet. She tries to reason with herself. Maybe he is just being polite. Maybe it is nothing more than a simple gesture. But something in the way he looks at her makes her wonder if there is more to it. I appreciate the offer, she says carefully, but you really do not have to. It is just a short walk, and I am used to it. He shrugs, a faint smile playing at the corners of his mouth. It is not about whether I have to, he says. It is about whether I want to. And right now, I want to make sure you get home safely. Clara feels her chest tighten at his words, a mix of gratitude and disbelief washing over her. She has always been the one to take care of herself, to find her own way through the chaos of life. She is not used to people stepping in, not in this way. She pauses, looking up at him. There is sincerity in his eyes, something soft and genuine that disarms her. Okay, she says quietly. If you insist. Adrian's smile widens, and for the first time in their brief interaction, Clara notices the warmth in his expression, the ease with which he carries himself. He motions toward the car parked a little further down the street. It is sleek, black, and polished to perfection. Clara cannot help but feel out of place next to it. She hesitates, glancing between Adrian and the car, but he simply waits for her. No rush, no expectation. She walks toward the car, feeling a little out of her element, but also a strange sense of relief. It is not just the ride that matters, but the kindness in the offer. They reach the car, and Adrian opens the passenger door for her. After a moment's hesitation, Clara slides into the seat, her hands still a little cold from the walk. As Adrian closes the door behind her, the warmth inside the car envelopes her, and for the first time in what feels like ages, she allows herself to relax. The soft hum of the engine starts, and the car glides smoothly through the streets of the city. Clara looks out the window, watching the familiar sights pass by. She feels a mixture of awe and disbelief at the world around her. Adrian drives in silence for a while, letting the soft music in the background fill the space between them. Clara can feel the tension slowly leaving her body, the weight of her worries dissipating with every mile they cover. She does not know why she feels so comfortable with him, why his presence feels like a quiet anchor in the storm of her life. She glances at him briefly, wondering what he must think of her. She is just a woman trying to survive, while he is a man who probably never worries about how to pay rent or afford a meal. She is about to say something, to apologize for taking up his time, but Adrian beats her to it. You know, I was thinking, he says casually, glancing at her for a moment before returning his attention to the road. Your designs, they are not just good, they are special. Clara's breath catches. No one has ever said that about her work before. It feels different coming from him. It feels real. She opens her mouth, unsure of how to respond, but the words do not come. Instead, she just nods, a small smile tugging at the corners of her lips. She wants to believe him, to trust that there is something more to this moment than just a random act of kindness. The car continues down the darkened streets, and Clara feels a strange sensation settling in her chest. It is a feeling she has not allowed herself to experience in a long time, a sense of possibility, a sense that maybe, just maybe, her life could be more than a series of small, desperate efforts. Maybe, just maybe, she could have the chance to build something bigger. She looks out the window again, feeling a wave of emotion she cannot quite explain. She is not sure what the future holds, but for the first time in a long time, she feels like the door to that future is wide open. And as Adrian drives her through the quiet streets, she cannot help but wonder if this is the beginning of something that could change everything. The ride continues through the quiet night, and Clara feels the warmth of the car settling into her, softening the edges of a day that had worn her thin. When Adrian pulls up in front of her apartment building, she feels a flicker of embarrassment as she looks at the chipped paint on the stair railings and the dim entry light that sometimes flickers when the wind blows. She wonders what he must think, but he says nothing. Instead, he walks her to the entrance with an easy calm that makes the dark hallway feel less heavy than usual. Thank you for the ride, she says softly, and for listening. Not many people do that. He gives a subtle nod, his eyes steady on hers. Listening is easy when the person speaking has something worth hearing. She feels a blush warm her cheeks, a feeling she has not had in a long time. She murmurs a soft goodbye and disappears up the stairs, unaware that Adrian waits until he hears her door close before returning to his car. Inside her small apartment, Clara leans against the door, her heart still racing from the quiet electricity between them. She sets her bag down and pulls out her sketchbook, tracing her fingers over the worn cover. For a moment, she just stands there, taking in the stillness of her home. It is cramped and old, but it is hers. And tonight, for the first time in months, she feels that maybe her dreams are not foolish. Maybe someone finally saw her. Over the next few days, Clara falls back into her routine. She wakes before sunrise, makes a cup of cheap instant coffee, and sketches by the glow of a lamp whose shade tilts slightly to one side. Her afternoons are spent at the hardware store, helping customers choose paint colors or explaining the difference between types of sandpaper. Her evenings are a mix of small design gigs, grocery budgeting, and tired meals. But something is different now. Adrian's words echo in her mind. Your designs are special. You see the story of a room. And because of that, she starts drawing more boldly. She starts imagining bigger. She even sends out her portfolio to 3 new clients, something she had been too afraid to do before. She does not expect anything to happen. She just hopes. Meanwhile, Adrian cannot shake the memory of her from his thoughts. He finds himself replaying her shy smile, the way she clutched her sketchbook like it was the most precious thing she owned, and the quiet strength in her voice when she spoke about her struggles. He sits in his office on the top floor of his hotel, staring out at the city skyline through floor-to-ceiling windows, but all he can think about is the woman who walked through his lobby and mistook him for a bellboy. Something about her honesty, her grit, had pulled him in like gravity. A few days later, fate nudges them back together. Clara is cleaning a display shelf in the hardware store when she hears a familiar voice say her name. She turns sharply, startled, and there he is. Adrian stands in the aisle between paint sample cards and boxes of nails, impossibly out of place, yet entirely comfortable. Her breath catches. Adrian, what are you doing here? He gives a small smile. I was in the area. I thought I would check in and see how you were doing. She cannot help but laugh softly. No one comes to a hardware store randomly, she says. He shrugs lightly. Maybe I wanted to learn the difference between fine grit and medium grit sandpaper. She laughs again, and the tension she felt melts away. She guides him through the aisles, explaining different tools and materials with an enthusiasm that surprises even her. He listens closely, genuinely interested, asking questions not because he needs the answers, but because he wants to hear her speak. When her break time arrives, they step outside together, standing under the soft glow of a street lamp. The evening smells faintly of pine from the store's holiday display. Clara folds her arms against the cool air. I sent my portfolio to a few clients, she says hesitantly. Nothing big, but I thought, maybe I should just try. Adrian's eyes brighten. That is exactly what you should do. She looks down, kicking a pebble lightly with her shoe. I do not know if anything will come of it, but it felt good to send it. He watches her quietly, taking in every word. You deserve doors to open for you, he says gently. And they will. She looks up at him, her eyes softening. You talk like you have the whole world figured out. He shakes his head, a faint smile on his lips. I do not, but I know talent when I see it. She feels her pulse quicken. The silence between them is warm, not awkward. And in that moment, Clara realizes she is no longer speaking to a stranger who held a door. She is speaking to someone who sees her in a way she has never been seen before. She clutches her sketchbook a little tighter against her chest, unaware that this small, worn book is becoming the thread that binds their worlds together. And somewhere deep inside her, a feeling begins to grow. A feeling that whispers this might be the beginning of something extraordinary. The week passes quietly, yet the tension between Clara's ordinary world and the extraordinary possibilities that now hover on the edge of her life only grows. The messages and calls from potential clients she never expected to hear back from start trickling in. It is slow at first, just a few inquiries, but each one feels like a small victory, like a spark that could light a fire. Every morning, after her shifts at the hardware store, she spends her evenings sketching and refining her proposals. But it is not just the work that excites her anymore. It is the possibility that this could be the moment her life changes. It is the feeling she gets when she thinks of Adrian. They have seen each other several times since that night. He offered her a ride home. Each time, he is there, listening without judgment, offering his calm presence. She cannot help but feel drawn to him, something she cannot fully explain. It is not just that he believes in her work, it is the way he makes her feel seen in a world that so often overlooks her. One afternoon, as Clara finishes another long shift at the hardware store, her phone buzzes with a message. She pulls it from her pocket, her heart racing when she sees who it's from. Adrian. He simply asks if she is free for coffee, no pressure. Clara's pulse quickens. She hasn't seen him in a few days, but she has thought about him every moment since they last spoke. With a quick smile and a fluttering chest, she agrees to meet him at a small cafe just a few blocks away from her apartment. The cafe is quiet, cozy, and tucked away on a side street, the kind of place Clara likes. A place where she can blend into the background and not feel the weight of the world pressing in. When she arrives, Adrian is already there, sitting in a corner booth, his coat draped over the back of his chair. He looks up as she approaches, a soft smile forming on his lips. Clara, it's good to see you again. He stands as she slides into the seat across from him. He has a way of making her feel at ease, as if nothing is too big to handle, as if everything will be all right. She smiles back, though a nervous flutter tickles her stomach. You too, she replies. It's been a few days. They sit in silence for a moment, both sipping their drinks. The steady rhythm of conversation flows between them, gentle and effortless. But this time, Clara feels something more than just the comfort of a casual friendship. There's a quiet, unspoken connection growing between them, something deeper than either of them is willing to admit. They talk about her design work, her progress, the small steps forward she's taking. Adrian listens intently, asking questions, offering thoughts, but never pushing. She feels heard, for the first time in a long while. They move on to other topics, movies they've watched, books they've read, the little things that make life feel worth living. But Clara can't shake the feeling that tonight is different, that something is shifting between them. She tries to push the thought away, but it lingers. When their coffee cups are empty, and the night stretches on, Adrian leans back in his seat, his fingers brushing the edge of his cup. There's a shift in the air, a soft, subtle change. Clara looks at him, and he meets her gaze, his eyes steady, his expression unreadable for a moment. I have been thinking about something, he says quietly. Clara's heart skips a beat. What is it? He hesitates, just for a second, as if weighing his words carefully. I know we've only known each other for a short time, but I believe you are meant for something bigger, something more than just these small jobs. Clara feels her breath catch in her throat. She knows what he is saying without him finishing. But the words hang in the air, heavy with possibility. She doesn't know how to respond. It is too much, too soon, but it feels like the truth. Adrian continues, his voice calm but certain. I don't think it's just about designs and contracts for you. I think it's about finding your place, finding a purpose. I want to help you do that. Clara opens her mouth, but no words come out. She's not sure if she is ready for this kind of help, this kind of attention. She doesn't know if she believes in people like Adrian, people who seem to have everything in order, who seem to have a life already figured out. But she also knows something else. She cannot keep walking through life alone. She cannot keep pushing back the chance for something real, something better. The conversation lingers in her mind for the rest of the night. She cannot sleep, turning over his words, feeling them settle deep in her chest. The next morning, she wakes to a message from him. It is simple, just a line that reads, I believe in you, more than you know. Clara smiles at her phone, her fingers tracing the message, and for the first time in a long time, she feels like something is finally within reach. She doesn't know what will come of this, or how things will unfold, but she knows that for the first time in her life, she is not alone in her journey. The door is finally open, and she is ready to walk through it. The thought fills her with hope, a feeling that, after all this time, is not so far out of reach anymore. The days that follow feel like a strange mix of anticipation and disbelief for Clara. She wakes up every morning with a sense of purpose, one she hasn't felt in years. Her work picks up, and the projects she once thought were out of reach now seem possible. The emails from new clients keep coming in, and each one is another step closer to her dream. She feels herself growing in ways she had only hoped for before. But despite all the progress, something stirs inside her every time she thinks of Adrian. Their conversations, their shared moments, linger in her mind. He has been a steady presence in her life, a quiet force pushing her to believe in herself. She wonders if he knows how much his words have impacted her, how much they have changed the way she sees her own potential. She is still working on a project for a client when she gets a message from Adrian. It's simple, just a few words. There's an event tonight. I'd love for you to join me. She hesitates before typing her response. An event. Her mind races. Is it a gala? A business thing? She hasn't done much mingling in those circles, not in a long time. But she knows she wants to see him again, and the invitation feels too important to decline. She takes a deep breath before sending her reply. I'd love to. What time? The message comes back quickly. 7 o'clock. We're something you feel confident in. I'll pick you up. Clara smiles at her phone, her heart racing. For the first time, she doesn't feel the usual nerves that come with unfamiliar social settings. She feels a strange confidence, something she has been lacking for years. When the evening arrives, Clara is standing in front of her mirror, debating between two outfits. She picks the one that makes her feel the most like herself, a simple black dress that hugs her curves just enough, and a pair of heels that make her feel taller. She looks at herself one last time before grabbing her purse and heading out the door. As she steps into the cool evening air, her phone buzzes. Adrian's car is waiting outside. When she reaches the vehicle, Adrian steps out and opens the door for her, his smile warm and welcoming. He looks every bit the part of the successful businessman she knows him to be, but there's something different in the way he looks at her. It's not the way a man looks at a woman he's merely interested in. It's the way someone looks at a person they truly respect. You look stunning, he says, his voice full of sincerity. Clara's heart skips a beat. Thank you, she replies, her cheeks flushing. She steps into the car, and as they drive through the city, she feels a growing sense of calm. The event is at a high-end hotel downtown, one she has passed by countless times but never entered. She can feel the tension building as they approach the venue. She is not used to these kinds of events, but Adrian seems completely at ease. He opens the door for her, and they step inside together. The atmosphere is elegant, the room filled with soft lighting and the murmur of conversation. Clara feels the weight of the world press in for a moment, but Adrian's presence beside her makes her feel grounded. He introduces her to a few people, mostly business associates and clients, but she doesn't feel out of place. She feels like she belongs here, at least for tonight. As the evening progresses, Clara finds herself more at ease. She laughs at the right moments, contributes to the conversations, and watches as Adrian effortlessly navigates the social world she has never been part of. He checks in on her from time to time, making sure she's comfortable, and each time, she catches a glimpse of something deeper in his eyes, a quiet admiration that makes her heart race. Around 9 o'clock, as the event winds down, Adrian pulls her aside. "There's something I wanted to show you," he says, his tone serious but gentle. Clara's curiosity piques. "What is it?" Adrian smiles, his gaze never leaving hers. "Follow me." He leads her through a side door into a quieter part of the hotel. They pass by a few staff members, who nod respectfully at Adrian. He walks with confidence, but Clara can't help but feel a little like she's stepping into another world. They reach a private lounge, where a few art pieces hang on the walls. Adrian stops in front of one of them, his hand gesturing to the painting. "I've been meaning to tell you something," he says softly. "The truth is, I've been watching your work from afar. I've been following your designs, and I see something special in you. Something more than just talent. I see someone who could do more than just the small jobs. I see someone who could really make a name for herself in this world." Clara's breath catches in her throat. She doesn't know what to say. No one has ever spoken to her like this. She looks at him, her mind racing. "But I don't know if I'm ready for that," she admits, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm not sure I'm ready for everything that comes with it." Adrian's expression softens. "You don't have to be ready. You just have to be willing to try. I've seen what you can do, Clara, and I want to help you get there." She looks at the painting on the wall, the strokes of color swirling together, each piece coming together to form something beautiful. She realizes, in that moment, that maybe she, too, can come together. Maybe she can stop running from the fear of not being good enough. Maybe it's time to stop doubting herself. "I'll try," she says, her voice steady now, filled with a quiet strength she didn't know she had. Adrian smiles, his eyes filled with pride. "That's all I need to hear." The following weeks move forward like a quiet, unfolding story, where Clara feels herself slipping into a new rhythm, one she hasn't allowed herself to embrace until now. Adrian's words continue to echo in her mind. "You don't have to be ready. You just have to be willing to try." She is trying, every single day. She wakes early, works late into the night, and finds herself drawing more, imagining bigger spaces, bolder designs. Slowly but surely, the small projects she once thought of as insignificant start to gain momentum. The emails keep coming, and the recognition she once hoped for is beginning to materialize. The local design community begins to notice her work. She is invited to events, offered opportunities that feel like dreams she could barely dare to wish for. It is overwhelming, but it is exactly what she has worked for, and a part of her wants to pinch herself to make sure it's real. Yet through all of this, Clara cannot ignore the growing feelings she has for Adrian. The moments they spend together, casual conversations, late-night phone calls about business, quiet coffees together, mean more to her than she is willing to admit. But she holds back, unsure. Adrian, though kind and encouraging, remains an enigma to her. He's been a steady presence, but every time she starts to let her guard down, the reality of his world, the world of success and luxury, reminds her of the vast distance between them. She's a woman with dreams, fighting to be seen, while he's already standing in a place she can only imagine. One evening, as Clara wraps up a phone call with a new client who has just agreed to a major project, she receives a message from Adrian. It's simple, just one line: "There's a gala tomorrow night. I'd love for you to be my guest." She stares at the message for a few moments, feeling both the excitement and anxiety swirl inside her. The idea of attending a gala with Adrian, being by his side in a room full of influential people, fills her with both anticipation and doubt. She's not sure if she's ready for the world he moves in, but at the same time, she realizes she doesn't want to let fear dictate her choices anymore. With a steadying breath, she replies, "I'd love to." The next day, as the evening approaches, Clara stands in front of her mirror, the same feeling of nervousness creeping in. She can't help but think of how out of place she might feel in such a high society event. She decides to wear the simple navy blue dress she bought on sale, paired with heels she knows will keep her comfortable. She smooths down her dress, glancing at her reflection. She looks good, not extravagant, but she looks confident, and that is what matters. Adrian arrives promptly at her apartment, and when she opens the door, his smile is warm and easy. He looks incredible, dressed in a perfectly tailored suit that somehow manages to look effortless. "You look beautiful," he says, his voice genuine. Clara smiles, feeling the warmth in his compliment. "Thank you. I'm just trying not to trip in these heels." Adrian laughs softly, offering his arm. "I'm sure you'll do just fine." As they drive to the gala, Clara feels a mix of emotions, excitement, nerves, but mostly curiosity. The night is a blur of glitzy lights, soft music, and elegantly dressed people. As they step into the venue, Clara is immediately struck by the grandeur of the event. The chandeliers hang like delicate crystal rain, casting a soft glow over the polished marble floors. The air smells faintly of perfume and expensive wine. She feels the weight of her insecurities again, but Adrian's presence beside her is like a shield. He introduces her to a few of his colleagues, and she is surprised by how effortlessly he navigates the room. People look to him for opinions, greet him with respect. He moves with a quiet authority, yet there's a softness to the way he interacts with Clara that stands out. As the evening progresses, Clara feels more at ease. Adrian stays close, checking in with her between conversations, making sure she's comfortable. His attention makes her feel seen, important in a way that's both humbling and thrilling. At one point, they step outside onto a balcony to catch a breath of cool air. The city lights below twinkle like distant stars. "How are you feeling?" Adrian asks, his voice soft against the backdrop of the night. Clara leans against the railing, looking out over the city. She feels small in this vast, glittering world, but at the same time, she feels a strange sense of belonging, as if this moment, this life, is within her reach. "I'm good," she says, her voice steady. "I didn't think I'd ever be here, to be honest. But I'm glad I came." Adrian smiles, watching her with a look she can't quite read. "You belong here," he says quietly. Clara looks at him, her heart skipping a beat. She wants to believe him, wants to believe that maybe she's not just a small-town girl chasing big dreams. Maybe, just maybe, she's already part of something much bigger than she thought. As they head back inside, the gala continues in full swing. Clara feels different now. She feels like a woman who has found her place, and she knows, deep down, that this night is a turning point. What began as a chance meeting in a hotel lobby has turned into something more, a relationship based not just on admiration, but on mutual respect and understanding. And as the night winds down, Adrian takes her hand gently, leading her back toward the exit. It's not just the evening's success that makes Clara smile, it's the quiet certainty she feels in her heart. She is no longer the person she was when she walked into the hotel lobby weeks ago, and she knows, with everything in her, that this is only the beginning. The weeks following the gala are a blur of success, growth, and quiet realizations. Clara's life begins to shift in ways she had only dreamed of. Her work is recognized not just locally, but her designs start to gain attention from larger firms and high-profile clients. With Adrian's encouragement and belief in her, Clara no longer sees herself as the struggling artist trying to survive. She sees herself as a professional, a designer with a future that is entirely within her grasp. Adrian remains by her side, not as a mentor, but as someone who respects her autonomy and ambition. Their relationship grows steadily, grounded in trust and mutual admiration. They spend their days working separately, but their evenings are filled with easy conversation, laughter, and the kind of companionship that Clara never expected. It is simple but meaningful. One afternoon, as Clara sits at her desk, sketching ideas for a new project, she receives a call from one of the top design firms in the city. The voice on the other end is enthusiastic, offering her a partnership, a chance to work on a large-scale project that could make her name in the industry. Clara can hardly believe it. She thanks the caller, her hands trembling with excitement. When the call ends, she sits back, staring at her phone as if it might disappear. She cannot stop the smile that spreads across her face. This is it. This is the opportunity she has been waiting for. But she knows she couldn't have done it alone. She picks up her phone and sends a quick message to Adrian. "I got the job. I can't believe it. This is everything." Adrian's reply is swift, his words simple but meaningful. You earned it, Clara. I knew you would. She sets the phone down, her heart full of gratitude. She looks at her sketchbook, the pages filled with designs that once felt like mere dreams. They are real now. Her future is no longer uncertain. Later that evening, Adrian takes her out to celebrate. They sit at a small restaurant, tucked away from the bustling city, surrounded by the warm glow of candlelight. They talk about everything: her new project, his latest business ventures, and the small, quiet moments that make life beautiful. As they finish dinner, Adrian looks at her with an intensity she has come to recognize. He leans forward slightly, his voice steady. Clara, there is something I need to say. Clara feels her chest tighten slightly. She has been waiting for this moment, though she's not sure why. Adrian has always been open and honest with her, but this moment feels different. He reaches across the table, taking her hand gently in his. You've changed everything for me, he says softly. Before I met you, I was focused on my work, on the success I had already achieved. I didn't think I needed anything more. But you made me realize that there is more to life than just accomplishments. There's love, there's connection, and there's the kind of partnership I never knew I was missing. Clara's breath catches, her eyes meeting his. She can feel the sincerity in his words, the depth of what he is saying. She's not sure how to respond. She wasn't expecting this, not yet. But she knows one thing for certain. She feels the same way. I'm grateful for you, Adrian, she says quietly. You've been the one person who has always believed in me. You've shown me that I'm capable of so much more than I ever thought possible. He smiles, a small but genuine smile that reaches his eyes. Clara, I think it's time we take the next step together. Clara's heart skips a beat as he reaches into his jacket pocket and pulls out a small velvet box. He opens it slowly, revealing a simple but elegant ring. Clara's breath hitches in her throat. Adrian looks at her, his voice soft but filled with meaning. Will you marry me, Clara? Will you build a life with me? A life where we can support each other, grow together, and face everything that comes our way, side by side? Clara is speechless for a moment, the weight of his words and the promise in his eyes overwhelming her. She looks down at the ring, then back up at him, her eyes filled with emotion. Yes, she whispers. Yes, I will. Adrian's smile widens, and he slips the ring onto her finger with a tenderness that takes her breath away. The world outside the restaurant fades away, and in that moment, it's just the two of them, standing on the brink of a new chapter. A chapter full of possibilities, challenges, and most importantly, love. They embrace, and Clara feels the warmth of his arms around her, the security of knowing that she is not alone anymore. Their journey, one that began with a simple misunderstanding in a hotel lobby, has come full circle. Together, they will face whatever the future holds, with the kind of partnership that makes anything possible. As they leave the restaurant, hand in hand, the night feels different, brighter, full of promise. And Clara knows that this is only the beginning. This touching story follows Clara, a struggling artist trying to make her mark in the world of interior design. Her journey begins with a chance encounter at a high-end hotel where she mistakes a successful CEO for a bellboy. What follows is an unexpected relationship that changes both their lives forever. As Clara's career takes off, she finds herself navigating a new world of success, challenges, and love. With the encouragement and support of the CEO, she begins to see her true potential and starts to believe in herself in ways she never has before. This touching story is not just about professional growth, but about the power of kindness, belief, and love. As Clara and the CEO grow closer, they face the complexities of their different worlds, but together, they find a way to create something beautiful. In the end, this touching story is about discovering what truly matters in life and finding someone who believes in you even when you don't believe in yourself. Join Clara on her journey of transformation, success, and love in this inspiring and touching story that proves anything is possible when you have the right person by your side.